Staggeringly, last year alone, £20 billion worth of benefits and tax credits went unclaimed. So it's not million, it's billion. Thanks very much for inviting me here today. I'm going to be cheering you up for the next 3/4 of an hour by talking about social security benefits. And what we're going to be doing is this. We'll have a whistle-stop tour, really, of the social security benefit system. And on the way, we'll be stopping at what are benefits. We'll be looking at some of the main benefits, who administers social security benefits, and then we'll be stopping at personal independence payment. At the end, there'll be time to ask me some questions, and I'll also have my email address. If you would prefer to ask me questions via email, I'm happy to answer them as well. So that's what we're going to do to start with, is look at the benefit system. When I give these talks, lots of people afterwards say to me that they're afraid of claiming benefits, they're afraid of the benefit system, or they're frustrated by it, or it causes them stress. And so that's why it's really important to be able to understand the process and also the system, because if you get some insight into the system, it can dispel that fear, hopefully. So I hope to be able to give you some insight into that. And also I'm going to identify some really handy information guides, and Carolyn has already mentioned Turn to Us. I'm going to be stopping at the Turn to Us website because there's some really great information there as well. Because staggeringly, last year alone, £20 billion worth of benefits and tax credits went unclaimed. So it's not million, it's billion. Okay, and that figure is from the Turn to Us website because they have examined the figures, and that's a huge amount of benefits that go unclaimed. Okay, so let's start with what are social security benefits. Well, broadly, you can break down the social security benefits into 3 areas. You've got benefits that replace earnings. You've got benefits that compensate for extra costs, and you've got benefits that alleviate poverty. And broadly speaking, they are contributory based benefits, non-contributory based benefits, and means tested benefits. And each one can have different impacts. For example, contribution based benefits are based on somebody's national insurance contribution record for the last 2 complete tax years. Stay with me, it will be worth it in the end. For example, if I claim job seekers allowance today, okay, I would receive contribution based job seekers allowance because I have paid the required number of stamps in the last 2 tax years. What that means for me is that my husband's income will have no impact on my £73.10 a week. So I'll get £73.10 a week for claiming my job seeker's allowance. My husband's income will have no impact on that. Neither will my savings have any impact on my £73.10 a week. If, however, today I claimed job seekers allowance and I hadn't made contributions in the last 2 complete tax years, I would have to claim what we call income-based job seekers allowance. Now that's means tested. Okay, so that means my husband's income will have a direct effect on my £73.10 a week, i.e. I won't be paid £73.10 a week. The law says you're all right because your husband's earning, so we're not going to pay you £73.10 a week. So I'll look for jobs, but I won't get paid £73.10 a week. But I will receive what we call national insurance credits. And that's important because that's for my state pension when I get to retire in 2042 or whatever year it will be. And that's the important difference between contribution-based benefit and income-related benefit. And you'll see that on any letter that you receive from the Department for Work and Pensions or any other department that administers the benefits. It will have whether you're in receipt of income-related or contribution-based. Now, sometimes when you apply for contribution-based benefit, just a word of warning, sometimes it'll come back and it'll say you're not entitled because you haven't got enough stamps in. Okay? Sometimes it's worth checking that. You can go online to the National Insurance Record Office and check how many stamps you've got in for the last 2 complete tax years. So it's always worth checking. Now, the third type of benefit is non-contributory based benefits, i.e. they're in general not means tested. So for example, today, if I claimed personal independence payment, it doesn't matter if my husband is working, it doesn't matter if I'm working, because personal independence payment is an in-work and out-of-work benefit. It matters not if I've got £1 million in the bank. I can still claim personal independence payment. Because when I make a claim for personal independence payment, there's no investigation into how much money I'm receiving, i.e. any wages or savings. The only investigation is into how my condition affects me. So there's 3 categories of benefits. So who administers benefits? Well, lots of different departments. Department for Work and Pensions, of course, we hear that quite a lot in the news of late, especially around personal independence payment and employment and support allowance. We've got the Job Centre Plus. They administer working age benefits, okay, the job centres. And at the moment they're administering universal credit, which has now been rolled out across the UK. We've got the Pension Service. They administer pensions, pension credit. HMRC and Majesty's Revenue and Customs, they administer tax credits, child benefit. And we've got local authorities. A lot of local authorities have got their own benefit schemes, for example, council tax reduction. So there's quite a number of organisations that administers benefits. It's not just the Department for Work and Pensions. Just bear with me 1 second. I'm just going to go on to the Turn to Us website. And Carolyn mentioned Turn to Us earlier. It is a charity. It's a national charity that supports people who are in financial hardship, who need support to access welfare benefits and also grants. And what they have is a really handy benefit guide. And I brought that up now because they've also got a guide on claiming benefits here. Okay, so it's just for your information, and we've got there what are benefits, and that goes through what I've just spoken to you about now, but you can find that information there if you want to check yourself and have a look on the Turn to Us website. And we'll be coming back to the Turn to Us website in a moment because I'm going to show you the benefit guide, which is very, very handy. So bear with me and we'll get back onto the slideshow. So, benefits, what to claim. It's really important before you claim a benefit that you know about the eligibility criteria. Okay, there's no point claiming a benefit if you don't fit that criteria. Every benefit will have a criteria. Some easier to understand than others. We're going to look at PIP in a moment, which can be sometimes quite complex. But some are very straightforward. For example, carer's allowance, substantial amount of care for 35 hours a week, etc. So there's always a criteria, always check that, okay? And then how to claim. Historically, benefits have been claimed usually with a telephone call, and then the form arrives, you fill out the form. Lovely. At the moment, though, with the introduction of universal credit, there's a bit of a push towards online applications, and universal credit you have to claim online. So that can be difficult for a lot of people, and there's only very exceptional circumstances can you make a claim over the telephone or on paper for universal credit. So at the moment with the DWP, we feel as though there's a little push towards digital, going online to get those applications in. There's lots of organisations though that can help with online claims. The advice organisations, Citizens Advice will help. Department of Work and Pensions have a home visiting service as well for those people who need that extra support. So if you know anybody that needs that extra support, phone up and ask for a home visit, please. They don't broadcast it too widely, but there is a home visiting service. And a lot of the Citizens Advice, perhaps in your area, will operate a home visiting service as well. So claiming now, although for PIP example, which we'll come to in a mo, it is a telephone call. Perhaps in the future they'll be pushing that as well to go online. And then we've got the claimant journey. When you make that telephone call or you make that application online, it is usually a form that needs to be completed for employment and support allowance, which is a sick benefit. That's called an ESA 50, okay? And that's a questionnaire that looks at how your conditions affect you. They're many pages long, okay? And they can be quite confusing and quite stressful. It's difficult enough to complete a form when you're fit and well, but if you're feeling under the weather, or if you've got a health condition, then that is really a big challenge. So again, if you've got any advice agencies in your area to help you fill those forms out, and I'm also going to show you where there's handy guides to help you fill your forms out. Do have a look at them, because that form is the starting point of any application for benefit. That form is looked at and scrutinised by the people in the Department for Work and Pensions, and if it goes to an appeal, okay, it's looked at and scrutinised by appeal panel. So you want to start off on a great footing, so get that form completed to the best of your ability. Once you've sent your form off, in some circumstances, then there will be a medical assessment, although the DWP, okay, can make a decision on somebody's form alone around their benefit entitlement. But generally it is a medical assessment, and as Carolyn has said, some assessments are good and some are bad, and when they're bad, they're really bad. Okay? And you've got the ability now for medical assessments, although it is costly, to take recording equipment. Okay? You can take recording equipment, but it has to be agreed before your medical assessment, and you have to pay for the recording equipment, and it's roughly about £110 for the recording equipment, unfortunately. But it is a very useful tool when you go to those medical assessments, so you have actual recording of what's gone on there, because you do get medical assessors who will look at a person and see on the outside no physical issues, and for them they've made their judgment and they're going through the motions. There's no doubt about it, because you see some appalling decisions. So being able to go to a medical assessment with the recording equipment really does put the medical assessor on notice, if you like. And also preparing for your medical assessment. And again, I'm going to show you some great information on the Citizens Advice website around preparing for that medical assessment. And then when you've been through all that, you get then the decision. You'll get a decision notice, whether that's a decision notice from the DWP, Department for Work and Pensions, or a decision notice about your tax credits from the Inland Revenue. It'll land on your doormat. If you're not happy with the decision, generally you will have the right to challenge a decision. So for example, if I've made an application for PIP and it comes back and they've not awarded me personal independence payment PIP, I can challenge that decision. And the first step of a challenge is to submit what we call a mandatory reconsideration. And mandatory reconsideration, as Carolyn has said, if you submit them with extra evidence, sometimes they get changed. Okay, decision makers will change a decision. You get a new decision back. If, however, it's not changed, then you can go to an appeal. And an appeal is a person saying, I'm not happy with the decision of the Department for Work and Pensions, or the decision of the Inland Revenue, or the decision of the local authority, and I want an independent person to decide whether they've made the right decision or not. That's an appeal. And you can have an appeal on paper, i.e. you're not there, or you can have an appeal in person. And we always recommend go to an appeal if you possibly can. As stressful as it can be, do go to appeal. I've represented many clients at Social Security Tribunal appeals, and if they were horrific, I would say to my clients, don't go, do not go. But they're not. The panel in front of you, 99% of them are normal, everyday people who are doing a job. You will get a small percentage who don't do the best job, okay? But you've got to be prepared when you go to an appeal. You've got to be prepared again, and I'm going to show you some really useful information if you do have to go to an appeal, how to prepare for that appeal. So that's the benefit system. That was a whistle-stop tour. That was an overview, and I hope you've got some information around that, because knowing how a system works really does help you when you're trying to navigate your way through that system. And empowerment is really important. Empowerment around the information that you have and the preparation for that benefit claim. So we're going to move on now, and I'm going to move to personal independence payment. And we're going to look at the criteria, the journey for the claim, the award decision, and challenging, appealing a PIP decision. So the criteria for PIP. First of all, what is PIP? Well, PIP is a disability benefit. And as I've said before, it's not means tested. It's not dependent on your national insurance contributions. Doesn't matter how much you've got in the bank or how much you've got coming in. And it's split into two components, daily living and mobility. But crucially, PIP is not paid for the condition that somebody has or the medication that they take. PIP is paid based on how your condition affects you within the context of daily living, which is self-care. Okay? Washing, dressing, cooking, communicating, medication, and mobility. That's the ability physically to move and also mentally to undertake and plan journeys. So there's two components to PIP, and they're paid at two different rates. There's the standard rate of PIP, where you have to be awarded 8 points for the standard rate of PIP, and there's the and there's the enhanced rate of PIP, which is 12 points or more. So there's two rates of PIP there. In essence, PIP is this. PIP has a number of activities, okay? And what it looks at is somebody's ability to carry out those activities. And I'm going to give you an example in a moment. But those activities, within each activity, is called a descriptor. That's the term used by the Department of Work and Pensions, a descriptor. Now, I brought some hard copies of the descriptor, but you can get them online, and I'm going to show you in a moment where you can get them online, okay? And they go through a number of areas, and again, they're split into daily living descriptors and mobility descriptors. So let's have a look online at those descriptors. This is the Citizens Advice website, and I've picked this because it, along with Turn to Us, because it really does have some great information in it. Okay, and you'll see there with the Citizens Advice, this is called the Advice Guide. And it's a database really full of information, and your navigation bar there has got your top topics along the route there, but I've landed on personal independence payment. Okay, you can navigate through the bar there, or you can go down to the A to Z index, which I will hopefully show you in a moment. There we go. So I'll just show you where quickly you can find this information. So if you go to A to Z of advice and say you want to know about PIP, you go into P for PIP. There we go. And then you go down. You've got masses of information under there. Oh, I've gone past it. There we go. There we go. So you click on P and it comes up personal independence payment. And it's got lots of information there around personal independence payment. But the first thing always is check if you're eligible for personal independence payment. And there we've got the eligibility rules. Okay? The eligibility rules, and you'll see if you need extra help because of an illness, disability or mental health condition, you could get PIP. So you don't need to have worked or paid NI to qualify for PIP, and it doesn't matter what your income is, if you have savings or if you're working, because it's not means tested. Okay. And then we have the eligibility rules. It says to be eligible for PIP, you must be aged between 16 and your state pension age. And you can check your state pension age on that hyperlink there. And you must also need help with everyday tasks or getting around, have needed this help for 3 months and expect to need it for another 9 months, usually be living in England, Scotland or Wales, and have lived in England, Scotland or Wales for at least 2 years, etc. So there are some exceptions, as you can read there. And we've also got there, if you're already getting DLA, which is Disability Living Allowance, and the DWP asks you to claim PIP, there are different rules. Because PIP is taking over from Disability Living Allowance. Disability Living Allowance is fading away. Okay? At the moment, those between 16 and 65 on Disability Living Allowance are slowly being invited to make a claim for PIP. And it's not an invitation really, it's a fait accompli. Because if today I'm in receipt of Disability Living Allowance and the DWP invites me to make a claim for PIP, what they're saying is, we want you to move on to PIP please. So if you don't claim PIP, we'll stop your DLA. Okay? So if anybody receives DLA and they receive a letter from the DWP saying, we're inviting you to make a claim for PIP, then make a claim for PIP, because otherwise your DLA may stop. Okay? So, there we go. If we carry on down, that's cheered everybody up. If we carry on down, your illness is disability or mental health condition. PIP is not based on the condition you have or medication you take. It's based on the level of help you need because of how your condition affects you. And you're assessed on the level of help you need with specific activities. And below there are the specific activities. So it says, it's hard to say if the level of help you need will qualify you for PIP, but if you get or need any help with any of the following because of your condition, you should apply. And there are what we call the descriptors, okay? They're the activities rather. And I'm going to show you now, and they're there preparing and cooking food, eating and drinking, etc., managing treatments. So I'll give you for example. So for today, if I had arthritis in my hands and my knees, and I had difficulty in preparing and cooking food, washing and bathing, dressing and undressing, and I'm looking at this, I'm thinking I'm going to make a claim for PIP because I do need help. I don't get it, but I do need help with some of those activities. Okay. So I'm going to go down the page because what I'd like to show you there is how to fill your PIP claim form. This is super important because, as I said before, your claim form for PIP is your starting point, okay? And what we have here is every question explained on that PIP form. The PIP form is about 45 pages long. It's huge. It's a huge form. This handy guide has split down each activity and explained it. So let's go to preparing and cooking food. And it explains, what does this question mean? Okay, because our idea of preparing and cooking food is different from the DWP's. So it says this question is about how your condition makes it difficult for you to prepare a simple meal for one, heat it on a hob or in a microwave until it's safe to eat. The hob or microwave must be at waist height, so the DWP is not interested in any difficulties you have in bending down. So don't bother put that on the form. If it says the DWP is not interested, they're not interested. Don't put it on the form. If you're using an oven, don't bother if you've got to bend down. They'll ignore it. So that's why this information guide is really, really helpful. So it's unlikely your idea of a simple meal is the same as the government's. It's helpful to base your answers on this example. Peel, chop and boil 2 large potatoes, open a tin of sweet corn and fry a small piece of meat or fish. That's the meal. Okay? And that's the example that they'll use at an appeal tribunal. Can you peel the potato? Can you chop the potato? Can you put the potato in a pan? Can you fill it up with water? Can you put it on the hob? Can you know to turn it on? Can you know to turn it off? Can you go and get a piece of fish? That's preparing the meal. Okay? And then it goes on to say this question isn't about whether you need to eat a special diet. It's about your ability to carry out a task to prepare and cook a simple meal. Because the question about your eating comes a little bit later. Again, why preparation is important. I've seen lots of forms where people have put the wrong information in the wrong section because they haven't looked ahead. Okay? And then we go down the page and it will give you then some more information around that particular question. And this guide you can also get for disability living allowance. So I'm just going to pick on D for disability living allowance. There we go. Always go to, there we go, there's the index. So it's help filling in your form, your disability living allowance form for your child. And it's got there, you can also call contact, which is for families and disabled children, helpline, if you have questions. They're experts in DLA for children. If you could get free advice from experts, then I would encourage you to take that advice up because it's free and you don't get free advice from experts very often, unfortunately. So filling in the form we've got here for the DLA form is about keeping a diary of your children's care needs before you fill in the form. So what it does, it prepares you before you fill in that DLA form around keeping a diary, which is really, really helpful. And then it'll give you guidelines for filling in the DLA form. So it says, we recommend you read Contact, a Family's Guide for filling in a DLA form. Again, it is free information, which is what you need. And on the DLA form, question 20 is a good idea to get a specialist or professional. It's always a great idea to get as many supporting letters if you can, okay? Don't worry if you can't, but if you can, if there's lots of people involved in your care or your children's care, as Karen has just said in her presentation, there's lots of healthcare professionals at each step of the way. It's really helpful if you can to get some supporting evidence from them. And what is important with supporting evidence? The DWP doesn't want to see a list of somebody's health conditions and their medication. They want to see that healthcare's opinion on your ability to self-care and mobilise. I've seen letters from doctors that go on for reams and reams, and the tribunal just disregard them because it has no opinion on a client's ability to mobilise or self-care for PIP. And I've seen one letter where it was one sentence from a doctor that says, in my opinion, my patient, who I have seen for the last 20 years, he cannot mobilise more than 5 metres. Bingo. That was it. One sentence from that GP. That had more weight for the tribunal than reams and reams of this is their medical conditions, this is their test, this is their medication. Okay, so that's really and that information is in that advice guide there for you. So I'm just going to go back and show you something else on this website. We've got moving from DLA to PIP there, gives you a handy guide, and we've got preparing for your PIP assessment. Okay, again, great information around how to prepare for your PIP assessment when you go, and you've also got the help sheet to take with you to any PIP, to any assessment. So what it says there is what to do and don't do. Tell the assessor everything you can that's relevant to your condition. Even if it's already on your PIP form, take your time. Don't let anybody rush you. Go through the PIP claim form to remind yourself of your answers, because you will always keep a copy of your PIP claim form. And ask for any help you may need, as this can make the assessment less stressful. Okay, and don't, on the side, don't exaggerate or lie about your condition. Don't feel you have to do anything you would normally do. Don't agree to do any movements that are too painful, and don't answer just yes or no to the assessment questions, and don't expect the assessor to be on your side. I hear time and time again from clients, but they were really nice. They were really nice people, and I really thought they were going to award it to me, and they didn't. You know, they're not going to come across as horrible people. They don't want people kicking off in the assessment room if they say, no, I'm not going to give you the award. So they are going to be nice. They're doing a job. They've got their job to do. But that there, just again, prepares you for that assessment for your PIP claim. Same thing for DLA as well on that website. So well worth a visit. So go back there. So, there we go. We've gone through how to claim, and then we've got the how your disability affects you form, which is your PIP form. Okay, and I've shown you there on the Citizens Advice website how to fill that form in, gather that supporting evidence, get the information ready for when you fill that form in. And one tip with the form is don't do it all at once. Do a little bit at a time. Okay, because it can be overwhelming because it is a negative form. Okay, you know, you're looking at the negative. What can't I do? And it's the same with the DLA form. What can't my child? What are they unable to do? And that really can impact on you mentally because it's a negative form, negative process. But if you do it bit by bit, it gives you time to reflect as well around the questions and remember things that you wouldn't normally remember if you did it all in one go. And don't forget, when you've got health conditions, you adapt to those health conditions and you forget about those adaptations. Got to get them in as well. And then, as I say, you've got the medical assessment. Prepare for the medical assessment. Capita are the organisation that operate the medical assessments. If you're not happy with the conduct of the medical assessor, make a complaint. Make a complaint. It does have no impact on the decision. It will. They don't care. They don't care if you... The DWP, not interested. What they're interested in is the outcome of the assessment. If you make a complaint about, and I have supported clients to make complaints about the behaviour of that medical assessor, that will go to Capita and they'll deal with that complaint. It won't have any impact on the outcome of the decision with the DWP, okay? But it may mean that that assessor may be retrained or disciplined because you've made that complaint. Capita don't get many complaints, they say, because people are reluctant to make a complaint because they think it's going to impact on the decision. Let me be clear. The decision about a benefit is with the Department for Work and Pensions. Yes, they do use that health report from Capita, but the decision lies with the DWP. Okay. And then when you do get the decision, as I said before, if you're not happy, you can challenge the decision. If you've not been awarded either any level of PIP or DLA, you can submit a mandatory reconsideration. If you have been awarded, say I'm awarded standard rate of daily living, but in fact I feel as though I should get enhanced rate, be aware if you submit a decision and you're already been awarded something, the whole award is back up for grabs. Okay? So I've been to plenty of tribunals where my client has been in receipt of standard rate of PIP, and we're going to argue for enhanced, and the judge has said, you do realise that we can look at the whole award, don't you? Yes, we do realise that. And generally, if they're thinking, the Social Security appeal judges are thinking of taking away an award, they'll let you know. They'll say, and actually, we think we're going to take this away from you. Go and have a word outside. So they're quite fair in that way, but do be aware of that. So when you put in a mandatory reconsideration, you'll get another decision back, and if you're not happy, as I said before, you can go to appeal. Okay? And again, there's a great section on the CAB website around preparing for appeals, but I've also put here a link to Turn to Us again. There we go. We're going to go back on the Turn to Us so I can show you briefly how you actually challenge a decision. If you want a handy guide, you go to their home page and you go to their great section, Read Our Information, which has got lots of information there, and you've got here, there we go, challenging decisions. Then we've got a whole section on challenging decisions around benefits. Okay. And they've got that section there around complaints as well. So there we go, there's the information for you. Just pop down the page there. So challenging benefit decisions, and it'll take you there. There's a difference between challenging benefit decisions and challenging tax credit decisions, which is why they've got two separate areas. But as it says there, if you think the Department for Work and Pensions decision is wrong, you may be able to ask for an explanation. But I don't think I would bother with that, because they're just going to come back with the same thing. They just cut and paste it out. You just wasted time. Or have the decision looked at again, which is the mandatory reconsideration. And then, if it's not changed, you can go and you can appeal that decision. And there's all the information, because you need to actually complete an appeal on a prescribed form, okay? And there they've got the handy guides, which is really helpful. So I'm just going to go back to Turn to Us main page one more time, because you may find this handy as well to know. On their homepage, as Carolyn has said, you've got the benefit calculator, where you can carry out a benefits check. You've got your grant search, where you can carry out a grant search. A tip about their grant search: if you search on occupations and health, you're going to get a lot more grants come up. Okay, so any occupations that you've had in the past, you or your partner, you can pop them in, because a lot of these charities, and I think there's over 1,600 charities in their database, a lot of them operate not just on the person, but on the partner and also the children. You'll get a lot more results on their grant search. And then you've got Read Our Information here. You've got Find a Local Advisor. So if you're wanting support in your area around, let's just put a topic area. I'm going to put benefits, and I'm going to put a Cardiff postcode. Okay, then that's going to bring me advice agencies up. I've got a number there around different organisations that I can find for help and advice. So it's a really great website to work with that's turned to us, and of course then there's the citizens' advice. So I'm going to go back on my common slide there we go. So just pop through them. Oh, I've gone, thank you, there we go. So the key, and I think this is the key to any benefit, and I've worked over 15 years or more in the benefit system as a welfare rights advisor and representative in tribunals, in the social security tribunals in the first tier and the upper tier. And the key is to prepare. Because if you make a good application at the start, okay, that is going to help if you have to appeal at the end. And hopefully, making that good application at the start will enable you to get a benefit award. But there's no guarantee, because as I said, in the Department for Work and Pensions and across a lot of the agencies to do with benefits, you've got good decision makers, i.e. the people that make the decision about those benefits. You've got really good ones, but you've got really bad ones. And they make such arbitrary decisions sometimes. It's just mind-blowing as to some of the decisions that they make. But what has really helped at the end, when we've gone to appeal, is a really good starting point, okay? And at appeal, that's why for PIP appeals, 70% of appeals taken to a tribunal are successful. So huge, huge success rate. I don't think in any other industry that would be acceptable. All those decisions were wrong. You know, and it can be very, very stressful for people when they get to appeal. But it really is worth it at the end when you get that decision overturned. Okay, I'm just going to then just, hopefully, that's given you an overview of the benefit system, and also around personal independence payment. I've done a little bit of information there around DLA, but you can see there the guides that are on the Citizens' Advice, and also the Turn to Us website. They're free. They're absolutely free. And they're absolutely bona fide, which is what you want. You don't want to be Googling this information. You want to get it from the source.